Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 410 Pod, your go to source for all things sports, where we break down the latest games, matchups, and biggest stories in the world of football. I'm your host, K Love, and today we're diving into the highly anticipated NFL Divisional Playoffs. We'll be covering the Texans versus Chiefs, Lions versus Commanders, Rams versus Eagles, and Ravens versus the Bills. And we'll wrap things up with obviously the Ravens versus the Bills, including the Zay Flowers injury and the funniest thing that could have possibly happened, and Diontae Johnson getting claimed off the waivers by the Baltimore Ravens again. Let's jump right in and start with the Texans versus the Chiefs. This game right here, this game is going to be highly anticipated because it's going to be a game of who can throw the ball better. Unfortunately, the Texans are going to be having to face the Chiefs without their big-time playmakers in Tank Dell and obviously Stephon Diggs. It's going to be a tough game for C.J. Stroud. They got out of that last game because their defense lit it up, right? The defense lit it up, forcing 5 turnovers, I believe it was, and the offense really they barely had to work. I mean, the Texans offense, they had some struggles there early on, but they picked it up. They capitalized off of all the momentum shifts that the defense gave them. But this week they can't really go out there and make the same mistakes because the Chiefs are a team that they're not going to make mistakes, right? They're not going to be the team that you're going to go against and they're going to have a lot of penalties, a lot of missed assignments, turnovers and things of that nature. Play bad. They're not going to play bad football. All right, they're going to play bad football in certain instances, but it's not bad enough for them to lose games. They play way more good football than they do bad. Let's put it that way. And the Texans, they had a solid season, but this week they're up against one of the NFL's best, right? And they have a few. They have a few guys on the injury, the injury list. Obviously I mentioned Stephon Diggs and what's his name? Tank Dell, excuse me. For some reason I blanked out his name there. Jihad Ward on defense. Joe Mixon is questionable, right? That's a really big one because they're gonna need their running game to be A1, right? They're going to want to control the clock and try to keep the ball out of Pat Mahomes' hands. They're going to need Joe Mixon there, right? You need the run game. You need a run game to keep the ball out of Mahomes' hands. You're not going to keep the ball out of his hands by throwing the ball up and down the field 30, 40 times. That's the game they want you to get in, right? They want you to fall right into their little trick. Fall right into the trick, and you lose every time. You will lose. I guarantee you'll lose every time if you try to throw Kansas City. And Joe Mixon is going to be needed so they don't have to get into that situation. Obviously, Jalen Petrie, safety, is on the IR. They'll be missing him. Azeez Al-Shahir is questionable. Robert Woods is questionable. All right, Brevin Jordan, second string tight end, I believe, IR. They're missing a lot of bodies. A lot of bodies, and that's not gonna be good against the Chiefs, man. The Chiefs are only missing, they're missing a few big names, but it's not as detrimental as the Houston Texans injury reserve list, and they got guys like Rashee Rice, Mecole, Tui Pelotu. He's a really good D lineman. They're missing a couple guys, but as you can see, it really hasn't affected them as they went 15-2 in the season. So the Texans will have their hands full, and I feel like in order for the Texans to win this game, like I said, they're gonna have to run the ball. If Joe Mixon can't go, it looks like who's their backup guy? I can't think of their backup running back's name right now. But I don't think it'll be as good or as effective as Joe Mixon being in the game, right? I can't even think of their backup running back's name right now for some reason. Here it is. Yeah, I mean Dameon Pierce. Okay, Dameon Pierce is pretty good. Dameon Pierce is pretty good, but it's not gonna be like having Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon is he's a dual threat back. I guess you can call him. He can be a scat back. You can line him up out wide. He has solid route running for a running back. He has really good hands for a running back, and he's obviously a really good running back. Uh, so they're gonna need Joe Mixon today. I don't think what's his name, Dameon Pierce can get it done. J.J. Taylor, yeah, I don't think that's gonna be enough to get it done. Um, and yeah, I think Houston is gonna have their hands full. Now, can the Texans defense though? The Texans defense is, they have a lot of good big names over there. Derek Stingley having a hell of a year. Henry To'oto's having a really good year. Al Shahir, who's questionable, is having a solid year, right? Christian Harris, isn't having the best year. It's not having as good as as he did last year, but he's a really good player still, nonetheless. Their D line is really good. You got Tim Settle up front at nose. Fatus Fadukasi, right? Folorenzo to Fadukasi, he's really good. He's a good player. Then you got two stout edge rushers / DNs in Will Anderson and Daniel Hunter. Those two guys are going to really have to have a really big game if they want to have a chance at winning at all, or even slowing down Pat Mahomes and this electric Chiefs offense, because Mahomes is, Andy Reid's goal is to just out-throw you every game, right? We haven't heard of Pacheco pretty much all season. Pacheco's a really good back, right? This could be the type of game where they get Pacheco involved, right? This may be the game where Mahomes might throw the ball 25 times and Pacheco gets 18 carries, 20 carries, right? They have the weapons. So the Texans' defense is out. They're going to have their hands full. And I don't think the Chiefs have – D-Hop is D-Hop at the end of the day, right? D-Hop is D-Hop. Xavier Worthy is going to be a big threat for those guys, but I think the Texans' defense is good. And I think they're good enough outside at corner to keep up with what they have. Chiefs also just got Hollywood Brown back a couple of weeks ago, so that's going to be a good – it's going to be as interesting to see where they line it. Obviously, they'll probably primarily line them up in a slot, but I could imagine that they're just switching around Worthy and Brown outside and inside whenever they can. They're not the same player because Worthy has better hands, in my opinion, but they're pretty much the same player when it comes to who's the better athlete, right? When we come to, when we talk about who's the better athlete, I think they're the same player. They both run sub 4.3. Obviously, Worthy ran a 4.21, but I'm pretty sure Hollywood ran close to that. He could run close to that, really close to that. Obviously, it's going to be a big task to stop Travis Kelce coming across the middle, but I think they have the guys to do it. Azeez Al-Shahir is a really solid backer. That's why I'm saying they'll need him. Christian Harris, I know he'll line up over the tight end. He'll probably cover the tight end a lot today because if I'm not mistaken, Christian Harris was there last year, and I feel like he did a solid job of guarding Mark Andrews in that playoff game. He, like I said, last year he had a hell of a year. This year it looks like he fell off a little bit, but nonetheless, he's still a good football player. Lassiter and Stingley Jr., they're going to have their hands full outside. Big time. And their nickel back, Miles Bryant, I guess he's a solid player, but he's going to have his hands full for sure with, the Chiefs swapping. They probably, I'm saying I don't really watch much Chiefs football, but I'm assuming Andy Reid is just moving all three of those guys inside and outside whenever he has a chance to, because D Hop can play in the slot. If he played in the slot, he'd dominate because he can run really good routes and has a crazy catch radius. But that's why he dominates outside so much, because he has a crazy catch radius. And Hollywood and Worthy, like I said, are pretty much the same player, and they can be swapped inside and out. Worthy's a little bigger than Hollywood, though, but as far as athleticism goes, they're the same person. All right. I think they're going to have their hands full on that Texans defense this week. It's a lot of explosiveness. The Chiefs have a solid offensive line. I mean, they have Joe Thuney playing at left tackle, which is kind of different. I'm pretty sure he primarily played guard most of his career, if not all of his career. Creed Humphrey, best center in the league. Trey Smith, top right guard in the league, and then Jawan Taylor, Mr. False Start. You know, they're gonna have their hands full too. You know, that's gonna be an interesting matchup to see as well. Like Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson versus those tackles. They're gonna have to get active. They're gonna have to get Mahomes moving off platform in the pocket, getting him to throw a lot of off platform throws. I mean, I know he excels at those type of throws, but I believe they're going to have to create a lot of pressure, man, if they want to have a chance. That defense is going to have to play somewhat similar to what they did last week, because that's how you win playoff games against really good teams like this. You have to play really stout on the defensive side of the ball. I have the Chiefs taking this one. I do have the Chiefs taking this one. I haven't taken it, 28-17. Chiefs 28, Texans 17. Texans, you're gonna have your hands full. Chiefs, as long as you don't play this game, play the game, play yourself out of this game, you're gonna have a good chance at winning. Obviously, you're heavily favored, so go get the job done, KC. That brings me to the next game of the day, which is the Lions versus Commanders. Lions will host the Commanders at home tonight at 7 p.m. Central. The Lions have been a strong Super Bowl contender this season, finishing obviously number one in the NFC. But they've faced some defensive challenges, particularly in the secondary. They've taken a hit in that secondary. I'm pretty sure they have three to four actual corners dressing for this game. I don't know how they're doing it. They'll need to step it up. They'll need to step up against the Commanders in order to stay competitive, man. The Detroit Lions are obviously one of the favorites to make it to the Super Bowl. But they're going to be going against a young, explosive offense that is, has a rookie quarterback at the helm who just got his first playoff win last week versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels has impressed us this season, and his leadership will be key in this matchup. Washington's defense, led by a powerful pass rush, will be crucial in containing Detroit's offense, right? And I believe this game is going to be a battle of strength versus strength. Can the Lions' offense overpower the Commanders' defense, or will the Washington's defense find a way to slow them down? Right? And if we take a look at the injury report, the Commanders are going to be missing Noah Brown and a couple other guys that it doesn't look like they really, they weren't like contributors, I should say. The Lions, on the other hand, my goodness, y'all. Aiden Hutchinson, Kevin Zeitler, which is a big loss. McNeil, big loss. Carlton Davis, big loss. Malcolm Rodriguez, big loss. Devontae Barnes, I'm pretty sure that's his name, big loss. Edge rusher Marcus Davenport, big loss. But they are still finding ways to win football games. Guys, if this isn't a Super Bowl team, then I don't know what is. They're finding ways to win games. Dan Campbell is, regardless of who the hell is on the field, he's continuing to be the same coach. And that's what I can respect about Dan Campbell, y'all, is that he will not change. He won't change his strategy, his ways of winning for shit. He doesn't care about his situation. He doesn't care that he has, half of his DB room is depleted. He doesn't care. He wouldn't care if Jared Goff wasn't playing. He's still probably going for it on fourth down. Why? You still got Jahmyr Gibbs. You still got David Montgomery, who was back this week. Right? You still got Amon-Ra St. Brown. You still got Jamison Williams, who also put up 1,000 yards. You still got Sam Laporta. And you still got one of the best offensive lines in the league. I'd be confident, too, as a head coach. Your defense is still loaded. Not loaded, but, you know what I mean? All the loaded pieces are pretty depleted right now, but, you know what I mean? You still have one of the best DCs. I love the way Detroit Lions are playing right now. America's taking Detroit this week. It looks like. I would too. Detroit is second overall in the power rankings, third defensively, fourth offensively. They're a pretty balanced team when it comes to their offense, right? That 54% of their plays were passes and the other 46 were runs, right? Pretty balanced team, right? You know what you're going to get. You're going to get a big run game, and then you're going to sprinkle the pass in there. Not sprinkle it in there, but you're going to pass off a lot of the big runs. Amon-Ra is going to get open across the middle, right? J-Mo is going to have a big, couple explosives in there. It's going to be really all about, can the Lions defense hold up, right? Not the Lions defense, Commanders, excuse me. Can the Commanders defense hold up? And they have a lot of pieces over there, right? They got Jeremy Chin at safety, Bobby Wagner and Frankie Louvu in the middle, Dante Fowler Jr., De'Aaron Payne, right? Jazon Newton, right? Jonathan Allen, Dorrance Armstrong, excuse me, right? And then at corner they got Mike Sanistrill and Marshawn Lattimore. And then at nickel, Noah Igbinohene. I'm sorry if I pronounced his name wrong, but that's why I just call him Igbo. Noah Igbo. All right, they have a solid defense. Really solid defense, and the highlight of it is really that front seven. And then Marshawn Lattimore coming back from injury this week too. But that front seven is going to have to nut up this week, going against one of the best rushing attacks in the league with Gibbs and Montgomery and, that stout offensive line up there. That features Taylor Decker. Kevin Zeitler's going to be out this week, but Graham Glasnow, who's moving in there at left guard this week. Hunter Ragnow, Christian Mahogany at right guard, and then you got Penei Sewell, first team All-Pro. Cough, cough. Sam Laporta at tight end, who is also a really good blocking tight end. All right. Coming out of Iowa, they block a shit ton up there. It's going to be about, can they own the line of scrimmage? It's going to be a battle of strength versus strength up front, like I said. The Commanders' D-line will have their hands full. They surely freaking will. That front seven will have their hands full. And the DBs of the Washington Commanders are going to have to be very disciplined this week. All right? You're going to get a ton of big explosive run plays. Don't get greedy with your eyes. Don't try to look in the backfield and see if it's a run again. Just keep your keys. Read your keys. Don't get greedy, right? Because they're going to throw that thing. Amon-Ra St. Brown will be wide open across the middle because you were looking in the backfield, or J-Mo's going to be 60 yards downfield running a deep post. looking at the ball, just float in his hands because the DBs, specifically the safeties, got greedy and looked in the backfield. Was staring in the backfield, I should say, instead of looking at the entire picture. And that's the Lions like recipe. They're gonna run the ball, then they're gonna throw off of it. They have a quarterback that understands that he is not there to win the game for them. He is there to not lose this game for them. Right? It brings up that game manager, game changer topic. Jared Goff is a game manager. He's not the one that's going to go out there and win that game for them. He's there to not lose it. And that's what they're going to have to do. Now, taking a look at this Washington Commanders offense, it's featured by Terry McLaurin, Alameda Zacchaeus, and obviously Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels is going to have to play really well. He's going to have to play really well. He is shaping himself to become a game changer. Why? Because he can do crazy things with that arm, and he can do crazy things with his legs. He can affect the games in multiple ways that just doesn't, consist in his brain and his arm, right? McLaurin, Zacchaeus, y'all going to have to get open, right? Obviously, Amik Robertson had a hell of a game last week versus, not last week, but 2 weeks ago versus Minnesota and shutting down Justin Jefferson, right? Terrion Arnold is kind of battling an injury right now. That's another matchup to look at, right? They could be trying to get McLaurin on Arnold a lot this game and trying to exploit that matchup right there. But the corner situation for Detroit is the only thing I'm really worried about. They're still generating pressure with Zadarius Smith up there and Josh Paschal and other guys stepping up like DJ Reader, Levi. Not going to pronounce his last name, right? Jack Campbell's solid up there. Alex Anzalone. And then at the safety position, they're stout. They got Brian Branch and they got Kirby Joseph, who is the best safety in the league this year. Best free safety in the league this year, I should say. Best free safety, not safety, but free safety. Right? Washington's going to have to their pass game is going to have to be really sharp. They're going to have to find a way to protect Jaden Daniels and keep the pressure off of him and allow Terry McLaurin and Zacchaeus to get open. Find time because Detroit is beat. They're beat up right now at the corner position. They are very beat up at the corner position. Brian Branch does play a heavy percentage of the nickel snaps, the slot snaps, since they've hit, the injury bug, right? He has 272 snaps in the slot corner this year. So he is well versed at nickel corner. So they should be fine, but still is something to look at, right? Injuries, nothing you ever want to see for a team going into the playoffs, especially the injury bug that they've encountered. But I still have them taking this game. The Detroit Lions are a really good football team, and still we shouldn't underestimate the likes of Jaden Daniels, because he's doing some things that we haven't seen from a rookie quarterback, and it's pretty impressive. So, congratulations to Jaden Daniels and all his success, but I think, unfortunately, the road stops here. I have Detroit pulling out this one in I don't think it'll be a close one, but I don't think it'll be too much of a blowout. I got Detroit by 10. I got Detroit 28-18. Yeah, I got Detroit winning this one 28-18, right? That's not too bad of a game for, Jaden Daniels, because Detroit's defense is, like I said, they're hurt. That defense is hurting right now. And it's only a matter of time before somebody you know, takes advantage of it. And I don't think it'll be this week, though. I think they'll take advantage of this rookie quarterback. I think they'll have a great game plan and containing him from moving around in that pocket and collapsing the pocket on him. And I got them, like I said, 21. I mean, not 28. Not 21. 28. Jeez, my English. 28 to 18. 28 to 18 Detroit. And that brings me to the next game, which will be taking place tomorrow, Sunday, January 19th. And that'll be the LA Rams traveling to Philly. Ooh, it's going to be cold. Traveling to Philly to face off against the Eagles tomorrow afternoon. The Rams have had an up and down season, but can still compete with the top NFC teams because of their offense. And Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua will need to be in sync for a chance at victory this weekend. Because that Eagles defense is stout, man. The Eagles have been dominant all year, both offensively and defensively. And their defense is led by a powerful pass rush. And it is really going to be a tough challenge for the LA Rams. Right? It's going to be a battle of whose offense is going to be more explosive. Can the Rams offense protect Stafford and keep pace with the Eagles' high-powered offense? That's the question. Can the Rams offense produce enough to keep up with this Philly offense, man? Because, this Philly offense, they're hosted by the likes of Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, right? Jahan Dotson, Dallas Goedert, Grant Calcaterra is a solid tight end too. Got Jalen Hurts at quarterback, who has been playing, as some would say, not really up to par. Because some would say that he hasn't really, he could lose this game for them this weekend if he doesn't have a solid game in the air, right? Because the Rams defense is no slouch. Akello Witherspoon, corner for the Rams, he's questionable this weekend. He went down in a game last week, but it looks like he might come back. He might be playing. He should be playing, I mean. You got Darius Williams outside as well. He's a little undersized, but he can ball. That kid can play. That dude can play. At safety, they got Cameron Curl, Quentin Lake, who came up with a big interception last weekend. All right, their D-line. Now, this LA Rams D-line last weekend was hunting. But they're going to be going against the best offensive line in the NFL in the Philly Eagles. Who's started with Mailata, first-team All-Pro, Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, right? Mekhi Becton, who has found his spot finally in the league at right guard, and second-team All-Pro Lane Johnson, cough, cough, should be first. All right, and I think this will be another game where it's going to have to be one in the trenches. If the LA Rams are going to have to, want to have a chance on defense to slow down this offense, it's going to have to win it in trenches because Jared Verse has been playing out of his mind this past month or two. Byron Young has been playing out of his mind. He had a hell of a game last week. And inside, obviously, they got Kobe Turner holding it down in the middle, Bobby Brown the third, and then you got Braden Fisk. They're gonna have to hold it down because obviously they're gonna be looking to get Saquon Barkley at least 25 touches, and they were talking about a stat last weekend where it said Saquon Barkley averages 2 yards before contact. Like what? When, he's not getting touched until he gets 3 yards. They're going to have to get push up there. And that's why the Green Bay Packers didn't win last weekend. They couldn't get any push. I remember there was a play late in the game, and Mailata and Dickerson had a double team on Kenny Clark on like a 4th and 2 or 3rd and 2. And my God, they drove him past the sticks, almost safety depth. And I'm like, oh, this O-line is the real deal. The real deal. Right? And the Rams D-line are going to have their hands full. So they're going to have to hunker down and try to clog up these gaps to, allow run fill for linebackers in the second in the back, in the behind them. Excuse me, I'm fumbling over my words right there. They're gonna have to hold up their gap and allow run fill for their linebackers, because averaging 2 yards before contact, ooh boy, that's the recipe right there. That's the recipe, right? AJ Brown doesn't get targets. Devontae Smith doesn't get targets. Saquon Barkley gets the touches. He's getting all the targets and touches. Right? Slow down the run game. I don't know what you can take from the Packers, but, early on in that game, they had Saquon Barkley kind of slowed up a little bit. But obviously, as the game kept going, Saquon Barkley is another one of them backs, whereas he gets more touches, he gets better. As the O-line gets more run plays called, they get better. So they're going to have to limit them up front if they want to have a chance at slowing them down. And on the flip side of things, right, if we take a look at the Rams offense, with DeMarcus Robinson, Cooper Kupp, and Puka Nacua, and Tyler Higbee as the receiving threats, and Kyron Williams in the backfield, right, they have an explosive offense. And the Eagles are going to have their hands full as well, right? Former Triple Crown winner, Puka Nacua, top receiver in the league, highest graded receiver in the league this year. And DeMarcus Robinson, who's a solid wide receiver 3. Robinson. And their offensive line isn't, they don't have any slouches out there. They got Rob Havenstein, vet, right? They have Alaric Jackson, another vet out there. And their middle 3 is solid. They got Kevin Dotson over there at right guard, Steve Avila at left guard, and then at center they have Bo Limmer. I'm pretty sure their starting center is out right now. And Matthew Stafford is also an experienced ball player, so they're also going to have their hands full. It's not like they're going against a younger guy and a younger offense as like the Green Bay Packers were, who they faced last week. The second youngest team, obviously, ever to play in the playoffs behind their team last year, which was the same exact team. The Eagles are also going to have their hands full on defense as well, man. I know they have a lot of names on there on paper. They got, Quinyon Mitchell, Cooper DeJean, Darius Slade. Like, they got guys, Sweat, Williams, Carter, Smith on the D-line, Zach Bond, first team All-Pro, Burks also in the middle, right? They got C.J. Gardner-Johnson and the likes of Reed Blankenship. I know. They got guys over there. But I think the Rams offense is good enough to compete with anybody, with any defense, really. As long as Matthew Stafford has a chance in that pocket and Kyron Williams has a lane to run through, which I think it'll be slim this weekend, because up front for the Rams, they're not as good as the Eagles up front. They're not as good as, you know what I mean? I don't know if there would be too much push going on up front. I could see this game being a game in the air for Matthew Stafford. And I think that's what he wants. He probably wants this. You know what I mean? He probably wants to get the ball out of his hands. He want to be slinging that thing around, no-look passes. You know what I mean? This is the game that he wants. I don't think Kyron Williams will have the success that he hopes to have. I could see him having maybe 70 yards off of 16 carries, maybe. I don't know. I don't know about the run game this week, though, Rams. If they can find a way to get that run game going, they'll be in a good spot. I will say this, they will be in a good spot if Kyron Williams can get the run game going. And that offensive line can get generate some push up front on them big dudes in the middle. All right. that's going to be an interesting matchup to see. And I have, as far as winning this game, I think it's going to be a close one. I think the Eagles take this one by a touchdown, 27-20. I think each offense will find its rhythm, but I don't think the Rams are going to have enough to slow down Saquon Barkley for 4 quarters, man. You know, Saquon Barkley is a volume back. He needs more touches, and he gets better with more touches. So the Rams are going to have their hands full, and I have the Eagles taking this one, like I said, 27-20. And moving on to the final divisional game of the weekend, my favorite segment of every show, and that is my Baltimore Ravens, man. The Ravens will be traveling up to Buffalo this Sunday night, facing off against the Buffalo Bills. Matchup of the weekend, I should say. You know, as far as record goes, this is probably the closest record we have this weekend. The 13-5 Ravens versus the 14-4 Buffalo Bills. Like I said, matchup of the weekend. This is who I wanted, right? This is the game I wanted as a fan. I hope this is the game that the Ravens wanted as a team. Obviously, Buffalo wanted this game, whatever. But now my biasness can come into full play here, right? But first off, we're going to talk about the Zay Flowers injury. Zay Flowers is questionable after knee injury in Week 18. He didn't practice all week, and he had he practiced yesterday, it looked like. There was a little video, but he wasn't a full participant in practice. And while it's a game time decision, but if he's out, the Ravens are really going to have to rely on our tight ends, like Mark Andrews and Isaiah Likely. And obviously Rashad Bateman is going to have to step up once again, which he's that guy, man. I love Bate. Glad he's popping off this year. You know, I don't think Zay Flowers will be a go this weekend. You know, he's been facing, you really can't rush back knee injuries, y'all. And especially with a guy this young and at this point in the season, you just can't rush that back, because if he comes back and gets hurt, re-aggravates the knee injury, he could potentially be risking his 2025 season. And now putting us in another situation where we need to go get another receiver, not to replace him, but in place of him. And, but it was good to see him back up and moving, right? I think we should just hold him off once again. I wish he wasn't hurt, y'all. It's just hurting me right now. I just really wish he wasn't hurt. And I wish my man could just be out there with the guys, y'all. I wish he could be out there with the guys. Man. But I'm going to show you guys this little clip here of Zay Flowers in action. Hopefully you guys can see. Yep, you guys can see this here. See, doing some ladders, some agility, fresh haircut there. What? That hairline though, Zay. Getting a little takeoff after the agility. Looking good. Good burst. Knees intact. All right. I think Zay is going to be, all right, I think he's going to be a big piece for us if he does play. But obviously, we don't. how can I put this without saying we don't need him? We don't necessarily need him, right? Our offense is predicated off of two things: running the football with Derrick Henry and getting Lamar Jackson creating lanes for Lamar Jackson to run in as well. Running the ball with those two folks right there. That's what our offense is really predicated off of. And it's hard to stop that because who do you focus? You can't focus on one sole player. And then you have two tight ends on the field where it looks like we're going to be running the ball, but our tight ends can catch and run routes like wide receivers. It's going to be a tough matchup for the Bills, right? I hope Zay Flowers can suit up, but I don't want him to rush back because he's a very important piece to our team. Because if we can win this weekend without him, I believe he'll be playing next week. I believe he'll be 100% by next week. I would love to see him out there, but it's not realistic, y'all. It's just not realistic. Diontae Johnson's return. The Ravens recently claimed Diontae Johnson off of the waivers, who will return next season after being waived by the Texans. He won't be playing in these upcoming games. I don't see him playing in any of these games. I think we did this just for the compensatory draft pick. The comp pick, it's a free pick just because we get him back. I really don't see him playing. I doubt he's probably even in Baltimore right now. And if he is in Baltimore, he's on the practice squad. I don't see us elevating him at all unless he did a complete 180 with his attitude, which I don't see. There's a reason the Texans released him. It's because he didn't, he had a problem with his usage in the offense. Like, I want to say I get it, but dude, you got to be a team player. Right now, you've played on 3 teams in this one season. And you've been bouncing back and forth and around. You're getting passed around like you know what I mean? Right? I don't know what's up with Diontae Johnson, but shout out to the Ravens for playing their cards, playing chess, not checkers. They got a free draft pick off of this claim off the waivers. Now moving on to the game, right? If Flowers can't go, the Ravens will likely focus on Lamar Jackson's legs and the running game to keep things moving. Expect more from the tight ends and possibly wideouts like, Rashad Bateman, Nelson Aguilar. Expect those guys to have big contributions in this game this weekend. Josh Allen is leading one of the most explosive offenses in the league, but the key to this game will really be whether the Bills defense can contain Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, and especially containing Lamar Jackson in the open field, right? And if you take a look back at that matchup back in week 5, they gave up basically 200 yards to Derrick Henry. And if the Bills really want to have a chance against us, they're going to, which I don't foresee happening, they're going to have to find a way to contain Derrick Henry. And not many teams have been able to do that this year. And the big key matchup of this game really is like the Ravens running game versus the Bills defense, and will be the most important matchup. And like, as a Ravens fan, as a football connoisseur in myself, I feel like our biggest challenge is stopping Josh Allen. We need to collapse the pocket, stay in our rush lanes, and if you don't know what a rush lane is, right? I wish I had my whiteboard up. So imagine you have your offensive line, right? You got your A gaps, B gaps, C gaps. We usually rush with 4 to 5 each time, all right? We kind of switch in and out of a bear front, sometimes switch to an over-under, all right, with 4 down D linemen. We have to stay in our rush lanes. If you have a two-way go, you better be using your two-way go. If you have C-gap responsibility, you better stay in your C-gap responsibility. Edge rushers, don't rush past Josh Allen. Don't rush past the QB point, right? Meaning, if Josh Allen is taking a 3-step drop back and is setting up 4 yards away from the line of scrimmage, setting up 8 yards away from the line of scrimmage, your rush point is at 7 yards, 7.5 yards. Set your rush point shorter than where Josh Allen is, where he could step up, right? Now, let's get into some football, y'all. Let's get into some edge rusher play. If the edge rusher, quote unquote, Odafe Owe rushes Josh Allen at 7.5 yards, right? He starts to bend the corner at 7.5 yards. He will have taken away Josh Allen's outside rush because he will be able to disengage from an offensive lineman and engage at Josh Allen at 8 yards because he shortened his path just by a little bit. It's a game of inches, literally. He shortened his rush path by half a yard to a yard, and is going to be able to disengage if Josh Allen decides to escape the pocket outside. And if he steps up into him, he's literally going to be stepping up right into Odafe Owe at 7 yards. Because if he sets up at 8, right, if Josh Allen sets up at 8 and he steps up a yard, guess where he's going to be at? 7 yards. And guess who else is at 7 yards? Odafe Owe. Football 101. Edge rusher play 101. Just put y'all on game there. All right. Now back to the game. Back to the matchup. Ravens are going to have their hands full. Not really. But Ravens defense will have their hands full, right? I don't take this Buffalo Bills offense lightly. I never have. You can see on Twitter, X, whatever, Buffalo fans are raving. At one point in the season, it's Buffalo doesn't have the offense to compete, right? They don't have the names or whatever, right? Josh Allen's carrying. Josh Allen is the offense. No, man. Don't believe all of the mess that they say on TV. Don't believe the Bills fans. They have a good team. This Buffalo Bills team is good offensively. They have Josh Allen at the helm, right? Josh Allen, MVP candidate. All right. They have Keon Coleman, potential who could have been a first-round wide receiver last year. Amari Cooper, all-pro wide receiver, not this year, but is an all-pro caliber wide receiver. Dalton Kincaid, tight end 1. Dawson Knox, who could be a tight end 1, who is their tight end 2. Shakir, right? Khalil Shakir, one of the top slots in the league. Matt Collins, who's a good depth piece, right? He comes in and makes plays for them. Running back, James Cook. I don't want to hear it. You know what I mean? I really don't want to hear it. They have weapons over there, man. The Buffalo Bills offense scored the second most amount of points in the league for a reason. Yeah, Josh Allen had 12 rushing touchdowns, bro, but it's QB sneaks, bro. It's QB sneaks. And then you have a top O-line. All right, you got Deion Dawkins holding it down at left tackle. I'm a big fan of Deion Dawkins. Spencer Brown, who has been on the come up at right tackle, right? But their interior offensive line is what kind of worries me. But obviously not worries me as a Ravens fan. I'm just saying as a football fan, speaking on a broader perspective of the game, it would worry me as if I was Sean McDermott or the offensive coordinator. Connor McGovern's a really good center. He's a really good center, solid center. He's making a name for himself. David Edwards, average. Osiris Torrance, average, subpar. Right? They have a solid team. They have a solid offense. And they'll be going against, God, I hope we have like I said in the last episode, I really hope we have a solution for Brandon Stevens because I'm really tired of seeing him in there. I would much rather see Tre'Davious White get more reps, especially in a game like this, where Trey White was thrown to the wolves by the Buffalo Bills. I'm pretty sure Trey White even played in a game in the Bills game in Week 4. Had a few good plays. Get Trey White more reps, Baltimore. Get him more reps, man. He's a contributor. He's a former All-Pro cornerback. He's a freaking Pro Bowler for crying out loud, y'all. He's a freaking Pro Bowler. I think we have a really good defense now. They finally, they've come a long way. The first 10 weeks of the season, we were the absolute worst defense to step on the field, passing defense wise, right? Our run defense has been pretty good, pretty solid. It's expected, especially with the talent we have up front, right? We have depth. We have depth up front. Talking about interiorly, we have Travis Jones, Justin Matabike, former All-Pro, sack leader for the interior lineman last year, Calvin Noy, Adafe Owe, both double-digit sacks. They produced double-digit sacks this season. Roquan Smith, obviously, All-Pro Row. Malik Harrison, who has stepped the hell up in these last 8 weeks of the season, right? I would love to see Trenton Simpson get more reps, but it looks like he still needs to develop a little more, man. He's still having it looks like he's having had a lot of mental lapses out there. And, it seems like we've played a lot better with him off the field, right? I'm not saying Trenton Simpson's a bad player. Obviously, he's a really good player. We have a lot of stock in Trenton Simpson in the future, I feel like, especially with us drafting him second round last year. Outside, we got Marlon Humphrey, Nate Wiggins, and Brandon Stevens, whatever. And then in the safety, we got Kyle Hamilton and Darius Washington, obviously. And Darius has really stepped up to the plate this year. I love it. I'm so happy, that, he's come in and made a, major impact for us, right? Marcus Williams, unfortunately, man, sorry. You're probably going to be cut after this season, my boy. Unless somehow, some way they allow you to suit back up. But I doubt it. But I think the Ravens will have their hands full with Josh Allen, just containing Josh Allen. We have to get him out of rhythm. Obviously, we have to keep James Cook from getting any type of rhythm. Ty Johnson, the backup running back. They have a solid RB room. I think we'll be able to get it done on the defensive side of the ball. And, offensively, we just can't play ourselves out of this game, right? It's going to be 0 degrees or -10 or whatever the temperature is going to be. It's going to be real cold, real cold. So, obviously, the game plan is to obviously run the freaking rock, right? Run the rock. Obviously, we can play in cold weather. I'm tired of seeing all of these cold weather game stats. I don't care about them. At the end of the day, who's going to show up to play football? Who is going to show up to win this football game? Who's going to show up to win a playoff game? Who's going to be more dominant? I think we have a chance to go out there and show the league that we are not to be fucked with this year. Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry and this offense, and Tylen Wallace, Nelson Aguilar, Mark Andrews, Rashad Bateman, Ronnie Stanley, Patrick McCarry, Tyler Linderbaum, Daniel Falele, and Roger Rosengarten, and Todd Monken, the OC, have a chance this week to go out there and prove to the world that we are not to be fucked with this year as an offense. We are not to be fucked with. Excuse my language, but we are not to be fucked with as an offense this year. Right? I think we're going to have, obviously, I'm going to say it again. For those of you who've heard me say it week in, week out, episode in, episode out, Derrick Henry, I demand 25 carries. No less than 20, but I would love 25. Get Derrick Henry 25 touches. He's also a volume back. He gets better as the game goes on, and we have seen it. He gets his 3-yard carries, his 4-yard carries, his 2-yard, 3 yards, 3 yards, 6 yards, 8 yards, 20, 46, and he just breaks one. We have to get him 25 carries at least if we want to win this game. Lamar Jackson, obviously, you know what you got to do. Keep the ball out of harm's way, right? Rasul Douglas graded out as the 86th best corner in the league. That is not that good, but he's a really solid tackler. I don't think anybody in the league can really tackle Derrick Henry running full steam at him. Anybody can tackle him going laterally, obviously, because you can tackle anybody going laterally unless it's Lamar Jackson. Up front wise, I mean, the the Bills they have some names. You know what I mean? They've got some guys up there. Uh, they got Von Miller. Greg Rosu, AJ Epineza. The Ed Olivers, the DJ Smoot, Dewan Smoots, excuse me. You know what I mean? They have a solid front, right? Really solid front. And if I'm not mistaken, if I want to take a look at the injury report of this game for you guys. The Ravens really won't be missing anyone that Arthur Millette, wish we still had him, but unfortunately we don't. Won't really be missing anyone. But Ray Davis, not Ray Davis, but Ray Davis for the Buffalo Bills is questionable. And that's really it. It looks like it's going to be a pretty healthy matchup here this Sunday. We have to run the ball efficiently. And Lamar Jackson obviously is going to have to keep the ball out of harm's way. Our receivers are going to have to get open when they need to and make the plays when they have to. Offensive line, keep doing your fucking shit up there, man. Y'all been protecting y'all asses off. Make it happen, dude. Just got to make it happen. You know what I mean? And I think we're gonna take this one. Obviously, y'all know I'm rocking with my dogs. I'm rocking with my dogs over anybody, man. This is the week, Baltimore. Like, we've been waiting for this all year long. Ravens players. I know none of you probably will hear this, but if this message slips through the cracks, lock the fuck in. Remember the definition of a team. Together, everyone accomplishes more. Remember that shit. Together, everyone accomplishes more. The definition of a team. In Baltimore, we will have to play as a team. We'll have to block out the fans. Block out all of the commentating noise, the analytical noise, all of the noise, man. Block out all the noise and focus on each other. And we will win this game. And we will win this game. I don't care about MVP talks anymore. That has been wrapped up weeks ago. They submitted the votes weeks ago. I don't care about the race. All I care about is beating the Buffalo Bills and moving on. But we have to go 1-0 this week, Baltimore. We have to go 1-0 this week. Lamar Jackson, stun on him. Derrick Henry, stun on him. Nelson Aguilar, stun on him. Rashad Bateman, stun on him. Tylen Wallace, stun on him. Mark Andrews, stun on him. Isaiah Likely, stun on him. Charlie Kolar, stun on him. Pat Ricard, stun on him. Offensive line, Ronnie Stanley, Macari, Linderbaum, Falele, Rosengarten, stun on him. Y'all heard Matt Milano. He doesn't think we shit. We got something for you, Matt Milano. Or Matt Milano, whatever your name is. We got something for yo. In defense, y'all know what the fuck we got to do. It's blood. We smell blood in the air. It's blood in the air. In the water. It's blood in the water. Excuse me. It's blood in the water. It's time to go hunt, defense. Leave everything you got out there on that field and take care of business tomorrow night. Make Josh Allen feel y'all. Put pressure on him. D-line, it's time to hunt. It's time to hunt. It's time to hunt. DBs, lock the fuck in. We are better than them. We are better than them. And it's time to show the world that we are better than them. Don't make this game more than it has to be. It is another game on another Sunday that we have to go and win. And that's all I got for the Baltimore Ravens versus the Buffalo Bills. And that wraps up today's episode of the 410 Pod. And we've covered the big NFL Divisional Playoff matchups from the Texans and Chiefs to the Bills and Ravens. Make sure to subscribe to the 410 Podcast on your favorite podcast platform, YouTube, and leave us a review. It really helps us grow and brings you top-tier sports content. Follow us on social media at 410 Pod for live updates, reactions, and more. Let us know your playoff predictions. Who do you think will make it to the conference championships? Thanks for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe, like, and comment. Share it to your friends. Share it to your mama, your daddy, your grandmama. Share it to everybody, y'all. And until next time, it's been your boy. I'm out of here.